A well-dressed man slumped against the seawall. No identification in his pockets. Every single label carefully removed from his clothing. The discovery of the Somerton Man on a quiet Australian beach in 1948 launched a forensic puzzle that lasted for more than 70 years. The victim carried no wallet, no cash, and no record of his existence, yet he appeared to be a man of high status and athletic build. The investigators found themselves trapped in a labyrinth of missing links and dead ends as they attempted to identify a man who seemingly chose to be invisible. Tonight, we dissect the clinical facts of the morning in December that changed the history of Australian criminal investigation. Subscribe to Mind 74. If this dossier keeps you hooked, subscribe, leave a like, and hit the notification bell. Comment below your thoughts on this mystery and share this video. December 1st, 1948. At 6:30 a.m., a couple walking along Somerton Beach near Adelaide, South Australia, discovered the body of a man lying in the sand. He rested his head against the seawall across from the crippled children's home. The man appeared to be sleeping, with his legs extended and his feet crossed. The couple realized he was deceased and contacted the local police. The first officers on the scene noted that the body was cold and showed signs of rigor mortis. The man wore a white shirt, a red and white tie, brown trousers, socks, and well-polished shoes. He also wore a high-quality brown knitted pullover and a fashionable gray and brown double-breasted jacket. Despite the summer heat of late November, the man was dressed for much cooler conditions. The investigators conducted an immediate search of his pockets. They found an unused second-class rail ticket from Adelaide to Henley Beach, a bus ticket to Glenelg, a metal comb, a half-empty packet of juicy fruit chewing gum, an Army Club cigarette packet containing 7 cigarettes of a different brand, and a box of Bryant and May matches. There was no wallet, no passport, and no currency. The most disturbing finding was that every label on his clothing had been meticulously cut away with a sharp instrument. The police could not identify the manufacturer of the suit or the origin of the garments. The autopsy was performed by Dr. John Dwyer. He estimated the man's age between 40 and 45 years. The victim stood 180 centimeters tall and possessed broad shoulders and a narrow waist. His hands and nails showed no signs of manual labor. Dr. Dwyer noted a striking physical feature. The man's calf muscles were unusually well-developed and high, similar to those of a professional athlete or a ballet dancer. His toes were wedge-shaped, suggesting he frequently wore high-heeled or pointed boots. The internal examination revealed severe congestion in the brain and stomach. The spleen was 3 times the normal size. The liver was also congested with blood. Dr. Dwyer concluded that the death was not natural and suspected a rare, rapidly acting poison that left no chemical trace in the organs. No foreign substances were detected in the blood or tissue samples. The police took his fingerprints and distributed photographs of his face to departments worldwide, including Scotland Yard and the FBI. No one identified him. On January 14, 1949, staff at the Adelaide railway station discovered a brown suitcase in the cloakroom that had been checked in at 11 a.m. on November 30th, the day before the body was found. The suitcase contained a red checked dressing gown, size 7 slippers, 4 pairs of underpants, shaving gear, and a pair of trousers with sand in the cuffs. It also contained an electrician's screwdriver and a table knife that had been ground down into a short, sharp instrument. Similar to the clothes on the body, most labels in the suitcase were removed. However, the police found a name Keane or Keane on 3 items. The investigators tracked every missing person named Keane in the English-speaking world but found no match. The suitcase provided more questions than answers. It suggested the man was a traveler who intended to stay in Adelaide, yet he carried no personal correspondence or diary. The investigators remained baffled by the clinical precision with which the man had erased his identity. The case was officially cold before the first year had passed. The investigation took a surreal turn in April 1949, 4 months after the body was discovered. A more detailed re-examination of the man's clothing led to the discovery of a small, hidden pocket sewn deep into the waistband of his trousers. Inside this secret fob pocket, investigators found a tiny piece of paper, tightly rolled and concealed. It bore the printed words Tamam Shud. The phrase, translated from Persian, meant "it is finished" or "the end." The investigators identified the paper as a fragment torn from the final page of a rare edition of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a book of 11th century Persian poetry. This discovery shifted the case from a standard unidentified death to a mystery involving literary symbolism and potential espionage. The police launched a public appeal to find the specific copy of the book from which the scrap was torn. A man came forward in July 1949, claiming he found a copy of the rubaiyat in the back seat of his car, which was parked on a street near Somerton Beach around the time of the death. He had not initially connected the book to the mystery. Forensic analysis confirmed that the Tamam Shud scrap fit perfectly into a jagged tear on the final page of this copy. The back cover of the book contained two vital clues scrawled in pencil. The first was 5 lines of capital letters that appear to be a secret code. The second line of the code was struck out, adding to the complexity. The letters were Gobabt, Wootmalbim, Liaboiaqc, and Ittmtsamstgab. Despite the efforts of naval intelligence, military codebreakers, and amateur cryptographers, the sequence remained unbroken for decades. The second clue was an unlisted phone number. The number led to a young nurse named Jessica Thompson, who lived in Mosley Street, just a 5-minute walk from where the body was found. When interviewed by the police, she appeared evasive and deeply distressed. She claimed she did not know the Somerton Man and had never seen him before. However, when she was shown a plaster death mask of the man, she nearly fainted and refused to look at it again. She admitted to having owned a copy of the rubaiyat and giving it to a man named Alf Boxall in Sydney during World War II. The police believed they had solved the case, assuming the dead man was Alf Boxall. However, they soon discovered that Alf Boxall was alive and still possessed the copy of the book Jessica had given him, with the final page intact. The Somerton Man was a different individual entirely. The nurse, referred to in the press as Justin, refused to cooperate further, and the police did not have sufficient evidence to compel her testimony. The presence of a cryptic code, a hidden pocket, and an unidentified man in a sensitive Cold War-era location fueled theories of Soviet espionage. In 1948, Australia was a center for high-level weapons testing and nuclear research. The Somerton Man's clothing, some of which had American-made stitching, suggested he was a foreign operative. The investigators reviewed the possibility that he was a courier or a spy who had been liquidated using an undetectable poison. The mystery of the Tamam Shud scrap remained the central enigma of the case, representing a final, defiant statement of a man who intended to take his secrets to the grave. The investigators remained focused on the nurse, but the trail went cold as she moved away and changed her life. The code and the book became the primary evidence, but without a key, they remained silent. The 1950s and 60s saw the Somerton Man case transition from a local police matter into a global Cold War legend. The clinical details of the autopsy, the enlarged spleen, the congested organs, and the wedge-shaped toes became the subject of intense speculation by intelligence experts. Some believe the man was a Russian operative who had been poisoned with digitalis or another cardiac glycoside that mimicked the natural heart attack. The absence of identification and the removal of labels were recognized as standard tradecraft for intelligence officers of that era. The investigators looked into the background of Jessica Thompson once more. Decades later, her daughter revealed that her mother had been fluent in Russian and possessed strong communist sympathies, though she had never shared these facts with the authorities in 1948. This information supported the theory that the Somerton Man was a lover or a contact from her past who had traveled to Adelaide to find her. The case was further complicated by the discovery of another body in 1945. A man named Joseph Marshall was found dead in Sydney with a copy of the rubaiyat open on his chest. This connection suggested a pattern involving the poetry book and unexplained deaths within the intelligence community. The investigators also examined the specific edition of the rubaiyat found near Somerton. It was a very rare 1941 edition published by Whitcomb and Toombs, and the police could only find one other copy in existence. This scarcity implied that the book was a specific tool for a one-time code or a recognition signal. The Justin nurse's son, Robin, born in 1947, was also a subject of research. Forensic genealogists noted that Robin possessed a rare dental anomaly, missing lateral incisors, and a specific ear shape called a Simba that matched the Somerton Man's death mask exactly. This suggested a genetic link, implying that the Somerton Man was Robin's father. Despite these strong circumstantial links, the South Australian government refused multiple requests for exhumation of the body for DNA testing throughout the late 20th century. The case remained frozen in time, preserved in the plaster death mask and the tattered remnants of the clothing found in the suitcase. The code scrawled in the back of the book was subjected to new computer-based cryptanalysis in the 1990s, but the short length of the text made a definitive solution statistically impossible. Some analysts suggested the letters were the first letters of English sentences, or perhaps a set of geographic coordinates. The mystery of the keen labels in the suitcase remained unresolved. Investigators searched for Carl Webb, a name that appeared in Victorian records, but they could not connect him to the Somerton Man in the early years of the search. The public interest was sustained by a series of documentaries and books that debated the man's origin. Was he a rogue pilot, a former sailor, or a professional assassin? The athletic legs and the dancer's feet led to a theory that he was a performer who had been recruited for clandestine work. Each theory relied on the same small set of facts, yet none could provide a name. The Somerton Man remained a permanent resident of the West Terrace Cemetery, buried under a headstone that simply read, "Here lies the unknown man who was found at Somerton Beach December 1st, 1948. The breakthrough that finally ended 74 years of anonymity came not through code-breaking or witness statements, but through the modern miracle of genetic genealogy. In 2021, the South Australian Police finally granted permission for the exhumation of the Somerton Man's remains. Professor Derek Abbott from the University of Adelaide, who had spent decades researching the case, collaborated with renowned American forensic genealogist Colleen Fitzpatrick. They did not wait for the exhumation. They utilized a small sample of hair that had been trapped in the original plaster death mask made in 1948. The laboratory processed the DNA from the hair follicles and built a detailed genetic profile. They entered this data into global genealogical databases, searching for distant relatives who shared the same genetic markers. The team mapped out a massive family tree of over 4,000 individuals, slowly narrowing down the branches. In July 2022, they identified a primary candidate, Carl Charles Webb. Carl Webb was a 43-year-old electrical engineer and instrument maker from Melbourne who had been born in 1905. The records revealed that Webb had separated from his wife, Dorothy Robertson, in 1947. Shortly after the separation, Dorothy moved to South Australia. The investigators theorized that Carl Webb traveled to Adelaide in 1948 specifically to find his wife. This provided a logical, human motive for his presence on Somerton Beach. The electrical screwdriver and sharpened knife found in the suitcase aligned perfectly with his profession as an instrument maker. The forensic genealogist tracked Webb's family and confirmed that he had disappeared around the time the Somerton Man was found. There was no death record for Carl Webb under his own name anywhere in Australia. The DNA profile matched the descendants of Webb's brother and sister with absolute precision. Further research into Carl Webb's personal life revealed that he was a man who wrote poetry and had a deep interest in horse racing, which explains the specific markings found in the suitcase. The banality of truth was evident. The man suspected of being a high-level Soviet spy was, in reality, a jilted husband searching for his estranged wife. The secret code in the book was reassessed as likely being a mnemonic device for betting on horses, or perhaps the first letters of his own poems. The cause of death remains a subject of debate, though suicide by poisoning remains the lead theory, given the lack of a struggle and his personal circumstances. The South Australian Police took the DNA findings to the coroner to officially confirm the identity. The resolution of the case did not diminish its historical significance. It simply changed the narrative from a Cold War spy thriller to a tragic tale of a man lost in a personal crisis. The mystery of why he removed the labels from his clothes may never be fully explained, but it is now viewed as an attempt to leave his old life behind. Carl Webb's story is a testament to the power of modern science to recover truths that were thought to be lost forever. We honor the memory of the man who lived in the shadows of history for 74 years. We documented the facts and the impact of these events for the future. The legacy of Dossier 46 is a lesson in the convergence of science, history, and human tragedy. We view the events of 1948 through the lens of a mystery finally solved. The archives are open, and the story of Carl Webb is now recorded in the annals of history. Subscribe to Mind 74. If you reach the end, subscribe, leave a like, and hit the notification bell. Comment below your thoughts on this mystery, and share this video to help us grow the community.